Right now at 4, Cuomo in crisis. We'll take you through the next steps of the investigation into claims of sexual harassment against the governor and the new calls for the governor to resign. Plus, the governor is being called out for his response to the accusations. We speak with sexual assault counselors about how certain language can be damaging for victims of sexual harassment and assault. And also, the St. Bonaventure community is mourning the loss of its president today after he died battling COVID-19. Well, good afternoon, and thank you so much for joining us on News 4 at 4. I'm Christy Kern. In your top 4 at 4, all eyes remain on Albany this afternoon after 2 former aides to Governor Andrew Cuomo accused him of sexual harassment. Today, State Attorney General Letitia James is working to find an independent investigator to look into harassment allegations. A lot has happened over the past few months, so we put together a timeline of the developments leading to this point. In December, former aide Lindsey Boyland accused the governor of sexual harassment. And in February, she tweeted details of the alleged harassment. Cuomo's office denied those claims, and fast forward to a few days later, another former aide came forward. The governor responded with a much longer statement. And we have live team coverage for this afternoon. We begin with News 4's George Rickard. He is live in downtown Buffalo with a recap of the changing developments over the past few days. George, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Christy. And as you outlined, it's really sort of a domino effect, partly involving Assemblyman Kim. You recall a couple weeks ago accusing the governor of threatening to destroy his political career. That directly led one former aide to retell her story from December last week, and that prompted a second woman to come forward with allegations of harassment by the governor. Now, former aide Lindsey Boyland says the governor once suggested they play strip poker, and on one occasion allegedly kissed her on the lips. Then there's Charlotte Bennett, who tells the New York Times that last June, the governor asked her if she thought age made a difference in romantic relationships, said he was open to relationships with women in their 20s. In response to these claims, the governor states, "I now understand that my interactions may have been insensitive or too personal, and that some of my comments, given my position, made others feel in ways I never intended. I acknowledge some of the things I have said have been misinterpreted as unwanted flirtation. To the extent anyone felt that way, I am truly sorry." But the big development now is that it has become an investigation. The state attorney general will appoint an outside investigator to help determine any potential criminal or civil violations. The governor initially had tried to name an investigator himself, but eventually left it up to the state attorney general to choose the investigator. Now, whoever is chosen to lead that investigation, they will have subpoena powers. And right now, some members of the state legislature are working on new legislation that would make this a more streamlined process in the future, so that the state attorney general in the future would have more direct powers without the governor having any say in an investigation like this. We'll have more at 5 and 6. Live in downtown Buffalo, George Rickard, News 4.
All right, George, thank you. Also, just into our newsroom, one of the women accusing the governor of sexual harassment is now responding to his recent remarks. In a statement, Charlotte Bennett said in part, quote, "The governor has refused to acknowledge or take responsibility for his predatory behavior. It took the governor 24 hours and significant backlash to allow for a truly independent investigation. These are not the actions of someone who simply feels misunderstood. They are the actions of an individual who wields his power to avoid justice." We will post this full statement up on our website. It's WIVB.com. And Governor Andrew Cuomo is facing new calls to resign. State Minority Leader Rob Ortt says he wants to see Cuomo out of office. During a news conference today, he pointed out the governor and his office are in the middle of 2 investigations, one for the Cuomo administration's handling of the coronavirus in nursing homes and the other for claims of sexual harassment against the governor. Ortt claims this will all impact the budget process and legislation.
I don't know that any one person could realistically dedicate the proper time to New Yorkers while also dealing with that.
Well, coming up tonight on News 4 at 6, News 4's Chris Horvatitz will have more on Ortt's call for the governor to resign. Well, the governor is also facing criticism for parts of his response to the accusations. News 4's Abby Friedman spoke with Crisis Services about how certain language can be very traumatic for victims of sexual harassment and assault.
In his statement, the governor mentioned Charlotte Bennett is a sexual assault survivor and said she was using her past experiences to empower others in her future career. But sexual assault counselors referred to the language from that statement as outing the victim. Since then, Bennett has spoken with multiple media outlets about her previous sexual assault and the alleged sexual harassment from the governor. Counselors say in any case, the publicity that accompanies coming forward and the consistent conversations about the experience can be traumatizing.
They are in charge of their story. And what happens in interpersonal violence dynamics is power and control is often taken away from someone who experiences the trauma of violence.
Counselors I spoke with also explain that survivors' choice and the amount of control they have around a situation is crucial for anyone who's experienced this kind of trauma.
And that choice includes how someone talks about their story, who they share it with, how they share it.
If you are looking for help, the number for Crisis Services can be found at the bottom of your screen. We also have that listed on our website, WIVB.com. Coming up at 5 and 6, we'll explain the difference between sexual harassment and sexual assault and why crisis counselors say both need to be talked about. In Buffalo, Abby Friedman, News 4.
All right, Abby, thank you. And of course, you can stay with News 4 and WIVB.com for continuing coverage of this developing story, including local reaction. In other news this afternoon, the St. Bonaventure community is mourning the loss of its president today. Dr. Dennis DePiero died after a battle with COVID-19. Dr. DePiero tested positive for the virus this past Christmas Eve and was hospitalized days later. He became the school's 21st president in June of 2017. Acting President Dr. Joseph Zimmer says Dr. DePiero was a vital part of the St. Bonaventure community and that his personality could light up any room.
Pretty devastated here. Dr. DePiero was not only the president of the university, he was kind of part of its heart and soul. He was just a larger-than-life personality. He had a great sense of humor and just was kind and joyous all the time on campus.
The Bonaventure flag will fly at half-staff through the month. Funeral arrangements will be announced soon. And News 4's Sarah Mikowitz will have more on DePiero's legacy coming up tonight on News 4 at 5 o'clock. The first doses of Johnson & Johnson's coronavirus vaccine are shipping out today. The CDC and the FDA approved its emergency use over the weekend. It is the third vaccine approved for use in the U.S. and the first that requires only one dose. The first shipments came out of Johnson & Johnson's facility in Kentucky. And UPS says the shipments will arrive at their destinations tomorrow morning. Tests showed the vaccines to be slightly less effective than others, but Johnson & Johnson CEO says there is no need to worry.
Whether it was the South African variant that we know is particularly challenging or the P2 variant in Brazil, our vaccine showed 85% effectiveness in severe disease, and it kept all the patients out of the hospital and from dying.
Well, he also says another advantage to the vaccine, other than just a single dose, is that it does not need to be stored in extreme cold. The company expects to ship 20 million shots by the end of the month. The White House's COVID response team says the spread of new coronavirus variants remains a concern, even as the vaccine distribution is going up. As Madeline Rivera reports, Congress is still debating the president's coronavirus relief plan.
They will get a state of the pandemic update.
President Biden's top health officials say that even though coronavirus cases are falling, now is not the time to become complacent about the virus.
The goal is not to sort of open up travel, open up all of things because people, we're scaling up vaccination. The goal in this first 100 days has always been to sort of make sure that we are in a place to be out of this pandemic.
And they say that even with the approval of the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, there is still a lot of work to do to make sure every American can get a shot.
We're focused on execution, and that includes the important work of ensuring that we continue to increase overall vaccine supply, increase the number of vaccinators, and increase the number of places Americans can get vaccinated.
More money to help ramp up vaccine distribution is just one part of President Biden's $1.9 trillion COVID relief package, which the Senate will begin taking up this afternoon.
In 2 weeks, on March 14th, around 11 million Americans will start losing their unemployment benefits if Congress doesn't act on the president's rescue plan.
But Republicans say they won't support the plan because it's too expensive.
We're not going to go waste Americans' money. We have $27 trillion worth of debt. You see interest rates are going up. Inflation is coming back. It's caused because of government spending.
Democrats have abandoned a plan to increase the minimum wage by taxing corporations that don't pay their employees at least $15 an hour. Madeline Rivera, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
Now your forewarned weather forecast, certified Buffalo's most accurate.
All right, let's take a live look over downtown Buffalo right now on your Monday afternoon. This is an interesting shot because it looks like there is some more cloud cover maybe in some parts of the city than others. Also, obviously, the camera is shaking from the wind out there right now. Let's check in with our meteorologist, Andrew Baglini, for a first check of that forecast. Hi, Andrew.
Hey, Christy. Yeah, we had the snow squalls moving through this afternoon. Behind it, some sunshine breaking out here in the city in the Niagara Frontier, but we're still dealing with some of that heavy blowing snow and definitely windy all across western New York. But the heaviest of the snow moving along the 219 down towards Cattaraugus County and through Wyoming County near the Arcade area. We're getting a pretty good burst. It's moving right along. It's not sticking around for very long, so only time for maybe a coating on the ground, mainly on the cars, before it moves on out. The bigger issue has been the visibility going down when that snow moves through. So expect changeable conditions for that evening commute. But as that snow squall passes through, conditions really have been lightening up, and as I mentioned, we've even been seeing some of the sunshine return. We're not completely done with snow chances, but things are looking a little bit better towards the evening commute. We are still under a wind advisory for Niagara, Orleans, Genesee, Wyoming, Allegheny counties till 1 a.m. And our Pennsylvania viewers, that goes through 7 o'clock tomorrow morning. There's a look at the latest wind gusts. It is pretty windy everywhere, but those advisory counties are where we have those gusts over 35 to near 40 miles per hour. And there's still room for some of those gusts to top out around 45 to maybe near 50 miles an hour this evening. And as temperatures continue to fall, we're back below freezing. As that happens, we're getting back down into the 20s this evening. Teens overnight. Wind chills are going to be back in the single digits and maybe even sub-zero through tomorrow morning. So very chilly weather tonight. Breeze does calm down by tomorrow morning. I'll let you know what the day looks like coming up in just a little bit. Christy.
All right, Andrew, thank you. And of course, remember, you can get the latest forecast in the palm of your hand at any time. Just download our News 4 app. It has the latest news, weather, sports, traffic, and more, and it is free for your phone or your tablet. Well, coming up next on News 4 at 4, slow down. The fines you could face if you're caught going too fast in Buffalo school speed zones. Plus, a taste of hope. The popular Western New York Food Festival making a comeback this year.
You're watching News 4 at 4 with Christy Kern and meteorologist Andrew Baglini. From Hamburg to Clarence, covering all of Western New York, this is News 4, your local news leader.
Well, drivers in Buffalo slow down. The city will start mailing out tickets to drivers going too fast in school speed zones today. Now, if you are caught driving faster than 25 miles per hour through one of the 18 school zones, your picture will be taken and you'll be slapped with a $50 fine. Another major film shoot could be coming to Buffalo. Casting Buffalo posted this online asking for Amish-type extras for they're calling an upcoming Paramount Pictures feature film. They're looking for anyone with an awesome beard or someone who could have been shaped into having a proper Amish-type appearance. The Buffalo Niagara Film Commissioner tells us he cannot confirm any other information right now. And you, of course, can find information on how to apply to be an extra up on our website. It's WIVB.com. Just click on the Found It On 4 tab. Well, a popular Western New York food festival is making a comeback this year. Taste of Buffalo organizers say they're planning for an in-person event this year. Details for the events are still being worked out, but it is expected to take place on July 10th and 11th on Delaware Avenue and Niagara Square in downtown Buffalo. Now, organizers say it's been a tough year for local restaurants, and they want to give back and give them an opportunity to showcase what they have to offer.
Our goal at the Taste of Buffalo has always been to promote and just bring awareness to the community of the local restaurants, the amazing differences in food that is available. So that continues to remain our goal, is to connect the community to the local restaurants, make sure that they know, who is open, who is available, and the ability for them to showcase what they're doing today as well.
Well, organizers say they're working with local and state officials to follow all safety guidelines. All right, and we turn back to our forecast. And Andrew, as we think about that summer weather and see the summer video, obviously today is March 1st.
Yeah.
But, it still feels like winter.
It does. Yesterday, though, did you get outside at any point?
Yesterday was very nice.
The first half of the day, not so much, but the second half of the day when the sun came out.
The sun came out, yeah.
Kicked our temperatures up, really felt pretty nice out there.
Absolutely.
So nice little early taste of spring. That has since gone. Yeah, getting much more back into the winter field today with the snow moving through, the strong winds, and temperatures are plummeting tonight. It's going to be a very chilly one out there. The rest of the week, well, with the exception of Wednesday, really, the rest of the week does look pretty chilly, but pretty quiet. There's not a whole lot of weather going on over the next 6 or 7 days or so. Today is the most active day of the week, and we had those snow squalls moving on through. Things have improved here in Buffalo. You take a look at the tower cam, still some wet roads, but the sunshine has been breaking out. There's a look at the radar showing you where those snow squalls are right now moving through the southern tier, and especially from Cattaraugus County into southern Wyoming and northern Allegheny counties. That's where we're seeing some of those heavier snow bursts. They don't stick around very long. It's only time enough to put down some brief coatings. That's about it. The bigger issue is the visibility because the snow is blowing around and visibility can drop to around 1/4 of a mile. So that's really the biggest issue if anyone's out on the roads this evening. The good news is, as this moves on out, things really do start to quiet down, at least in terms of additional snow falling. I think the evening commute will be largely manageable. We're not completely done with any snow. As you look upstream, we see a little bit of a lake response up along Lake Huron. So I do think there's room for a few lake effect snow showers throughout the evening commute into sunset this evening. Minimal stuff, coatings. If we see any persistent snow bands, maybe an inch of snow on the ground. But nothing major anticipated. But the bottom line is, even though the snow bursts continue to move out of the area, we're still expecting changing road conditions at times throughout this evening. So be a little extra careful if you do encounter some of that snow. I'm sure you've felt the wind. We do have those wind advisories for Niagara, Orleans, Genesee, Wyoming, and Allegheny counties. They're active now through 1 a.m. and then they go through 7 o'clock tomorrow morning down in Pennsylvania. It's pretty windy everywhere, but it's really those advisory areas where we've got the strongest gusts of 35 to 40 miles per hour. We're still seeing that and up along the Lake Ontario shoreline. There is room this evening for gusts to get upwards of 40 to 50 miles per hour. I don't think anything stronger than that, but still enough to cause some issues. And reminding the crosswinds as well, any of the bigger vehicles out there, be a little extra careful traveling along the thruway, especially this evening with those stronger winds. Temperatures outside are below freezing. We're pretty much in the 20s. Temperatures will continue to fall tonight, though, from the 20s into the teens. Shouldn't get much lower than that, but with the wind, it's really going to feel pretty cold out there tonight. Now, as I mentioned, there is still room for a few lake effect snow bands. Nothing terribly organized, coatings to an inch, but pretty spotty activity. A lot of areas should expect plenty of dry time for tonight. both the snow and the wind begin to wind down overnight. By the time we wake up tomorrow morning, maybe a few leftover flurries, but the breeze is going to back off considerably. Still enough that you feel it. Wind chills down in the single digits tomorrow morning, so bundle on up. But it will be a much quieter start tomorrow than what we're going to deal with this evening. And I do expect after maybe a few morning flurries, we'll see the sunshine returning tomorrow afternoon. Temperatures largely staying below freezing, but the sunshine will still be enough to melt some leftover snow, any snow that's still out there. So for tonight, very windy with that bitter cold setting up. With the exception of the snow showers, the other concern I have is with these falling temperatures, any of those wet roads will be freezing up tonight. So be careful. Overnight tonight and tomorrow morning, we might encounter some areas of black ice. Otherwise, we're going to quiet things down tomorrow. The breeze does pick back up a bit in the afternoon. Not nearly as windy as today, but enough to keep a wind chill in the area. Wednesday will be a bit milder with mostly cloudy skies, close to 40 degrees, but otherwise we're going to stay below average for the end of the week with increasing sunshine Thursday and Friday. Weekend looks pretty quiet, maybe a snow shower Saturday night, but really no big weather heading our way after today for the next week. Christy.
All right, Andrew, thank you. Well, coming up next on News 4 at 4, the Golden Globes kicks off Hollywood's awards season. We'll have a look back at some of the night's big winners and how the awards show refused to let the pandemic get in the way of the celebration. Well, let's take a look at what is trending this afternoon. A father in Kansas City is raising awareness in a unique way to help his daughter fight cancer. The young girl, Layla, started her fight in October and recently went through surgery. Her father says Layla is extremely resilient, but when medicine caused her hair to fall out, it was tough. So he told her she wasn't going to go through it alone.
And then we made a deal. I said, if your hair comes out, then daddy's hair comes off, you know. And so, and mom joined us too. So even the side is shaved too. So we just doing this together, the family.
Well, Dad let the whole family get in on cutting his hair and broadcast it on TikTok for the whole world to see. He says people responded with a ton of support and love for his daughter. What a sweet story. Well, this year's Golden Globes Awards went off with a few glitches, but plenty of funny and also touching moments. Amy Poehler and Tina Fey hosted the mostly virtual show from opposite sides of the country, with nominees dialed in remotely. As Chris Martinez reports, there was a good amount of diversity among the winners, including the most emotional win of the night.
Chadwick Boseman.
The late Chadwick Boseman's award for Best Actor in a Drama in the film Ma Rainey's Black Bottom was just the second posthumous win in that category in Golden Globes history. His tearful widow accepted on his behalf.
He would say something beautiful, something inspiring, something that would amplify that little voice inside of all of us that tells you you can.
Last night's Golden Globes adapted to pandemic reality and also filled its audience with first responders and essential workers. Hosts Tina Fey in New York and Amy Poehler in Beverly Hills poked fun at the technical challenges.
It's going to be smooth sailing. You won't even notice.
Moments later, no one could hear Best Supporting Actor in a Motion Picture, Daniel Kaluuya.
Cool. Can you hear me now? All right, cool. We got this.
4 black actors were honored, including Andra Day for her portrayal of Billie Holiday.
Black women are so dynamic, and we have so many amazing layered stories.
Chloe Zhao's film Nomadland won for Best Motion Picture Drama.
Oh my God.
She's only the second female director and the first Asian woman to win Best Director.
The Crown.
Netflix's The Crown nabbed most of the major television awards, including Josh O'Connor for his portrayal of Prince Charles.
I'm trying to work out how best to fall asleep after these press calls. I don't think I'll be able to because I'm so excited.
And TV legend Norman Lear was honored for his life's work.
I am convinced that laughter adds time to one's life.
Lear added he's never lived or laughed alone. Chris Martinez, CBS News, Los Angeles.
Well, coming up next on News 4 at 4, as COVID vaccinations rise all across the country, testing appears to be dropping. Hear why this has some business owners concerned.
The Biden administration says it's rebuilding the country's immigration system, accusing the previous administration of gutting it. I'm Skyler Henry at the White House, where President Biden meets virtually with the Mexican president.
You're watching News 4, your local news leader. Now, live from Buffalo, this is News 4 at 4.
Well, your top 4 at 4:30. There are growing calls for an investigation into claims that Governor Andrew Cuomo sexually harassed 2 of his former aides. Back in December, a former aide, Lindsey Boylan, accused the governor of sexual harassment. Cuomo's office denied those claims, and over the weekend, another former aide accused him of sexual harassment. The governor responded to those claims, saying in part, quote, "I now understand that my interactions may have been insensitive or too personal, and that some of my comments, given my position, made others feel in ways I never intended. I acknowledge some of the things I've said have been misinterpreted as unwanted flirtation." New York Attorney General Letitia James announced she'll pick a law firm to independently investigate harassment allegations. And of course, you can stay with News 4 on air, also online for continuing coverage of this developing story, including local reaction. Well, hospitalization rates in Western New York are trending in the right direction for COVID-19. Right now, 190 people are in local hospitals with the coronavirus. That is the lowest it's been since November 16th. While vaccine distribution is ramping up, there is a new concern over a drop in COVID testing all across the country. Right now, the U.S. averages 1.4 million tests per day. That is down from a high of 1.9 million in mid-January. Less testing could slow down our ability to track outbreaks of the virus. David Bagno reports.
Hairstylist Amanda Shuttleworth feels like getting tested is something that she owes her clients.
I see clients regularly, so it's my responsibility to make sure that I got regular testing.
So how regularly were you going?
I would probably say like once a month.
She had tested positive back in December, and so she wanted a follow-up test just to reassure her clients that she was virus-free. But when she went to her usual testing site,
it was gone. It was like a ghost town. There was nothing there.
Her testing site at the VA hospital parking lot in Los Angeles was closed entirely. And the city is now turning other testing sites, like Dodger Stadium, into vaccine sites. And it's happening in cities across California.
We were averaging 330,000 tests a day towards the end of December, early January, and now we're below 200,000 tests a day.
That is Dr. Mark Galey, California's Secretary of Health and Human Services. He says with variant strains of COVID spreading across California, mass testing is as important today as it's ever been.
We can't ramp down testing too much. Otherwise, if we did see another surge, we're never going to be able to track it, and we are not out of the woods yet. The only way you track a variant is by starting with a positive test. So it's going to be key over the next weeks and months.
And you know, the upcoming vaccines could be a part of the solution. There are the new shots from Johnson & Johnson, Novavax, and AstraZeneca that can be stored in normal refrigerators in doctors' offices. And that is a game changer, says CBS News medical contributor Dr. David Agus.
Every year, we give flu shots, and 60+% of the country is vaccinated with an influenza vaccine. Those are done in doctors' offices and in community hospitals. We have to start to transition vaccines there so we can go back to testing at the large centers.
There are other doctors who say, listen, we need to focus more on vaccines than we do on testing. Do you agree?
Well, vaccines are what's going to get us out of this pandemic, period. At the same time, we have to figure out an alternative way to do testing. Knowing if you have or you don't have the virus is critical for your behavior. Do I quarantine? Do I stay home? You need testing to determine that.
Makes sense. As for Amanda Shuttleworth, she was able to find a test in South Los Angeles, not too close to her home, but she was happy nonetheless to find a free test, and she tested negative for the first time in nearly 3 months. So that follow-up test was very important for her own peace of mind and for that of her clients. If you're a mayor or a county executive or a governor and you're watching this, this story was especially meant for you. Don't forget about the free testing. David Bagno, CBS News, Los Angeles.
Well, President Biden is meeting with Mexico's president today. The Secretary of Homeland Security says the administration is rebuilding the nation's immigration system from scratch. Skylar Henry is at the White House with more.
President Biden is meeting with Mexican President Andrés Manuel López Obrador, emphasizing, among other things, migrant protocols and safety. DHS Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas says his agency is working to rebuild the U.S. immigration system. He's accusing the Trump administration of gutting it.
The prior administration dismantled our nation's immigration system in its entirety. It takes time to build out of the depths of cruelty
The DHS secretary says there are now 3 ports of entry operating to process as many as 100 asylum seekers a day who were forced to remain south of the border under the previous administration's Remain in Mexico policy. U.S. Customs and Border Protection says last month there were an average of nearly 3,000 arrests a day at the southern border. The Biden administration is telling those who are thinking of undertaking the journey to the border, don't come yet.
We are obligated to, in the service of public health, to impose the travel restrictions under the CDC's Title 42 authorities and return them to Mexico.
The president's massive immigration bill proposal has been introduced by Democrats in the House and Senate. The plan pushes for a pathway for citizenship for millions of undocumented immigrants, but it'll likely face an uphill battle on Capitol Hill. Skylar Henry, CBS News, the White House.
Well, Prince Philip is still recovering in the hospital this afternoon. Buckingham Palace says the prince has been transferred to another London hospital for heart treatment. He was admitted to the hospital almost 2 weeks ago for an illness not related to COVID-19. Last week, Prince Philip's youngest son said his father's spirits were high.
He's looking forward to getting out, which is the most positive thing. So we keep our fingers crossed.
Well, the palace says Prince Philip will remain in the hospital until at least the end of the week.
Now, your forewarned weather forecast, certified Buffalo's most accurate.
All right, let's take a live look over at downtown Buffalo right now. And this is a pretty nice looking shot as the sun starts to set. But of course, it is also very deceiving. Let's check in with our meteorologist, Andrew Baglini, for a first check of that forecast. And Andrew, I can hear the wind on the roof. And that's something that started in the last half hour or so that I've heard here.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, it's been it's been getting windier and windier throughout the afternoon. We have those wind advisories. Those started at 1 o'clock. Not for us here in Buffalo and Erie County. It's going to be for areas to the north and east of us. I'll show you that in just a moment. Most notably over the past few hours were those snow squalls moving on through. Those bursts of snow combined with these strong wind gusts really brought visibility down. It was a mess briefly, but a big mess out on the roads. Things are really improving around the metro and our northern counties. Those snow bursts heading down towards the southern tier, and they are actually starting to lose some steam and thin out a bit. But still, that blowing snow will cause a few issues right now along the 86, especially over towards Allegheny County. We're starting to see some of those heavier snow bursts moving into the northern half of Allegheny County. Otherwise, the radar has been clearing up. I think we'll see some minimal lake effect snow showers this evening, so still be extra careful if you encounter snow out there tonight, but not going to be anything significant in terms of accumulation, maybe localized coatings to an inch, and that's about it. Wind advisories are out for Niagara, Orleans, Genesee, Wyoming, and Allegheny counties through 1 o'clock tonight, 1 a.m. And then those go through 7 o'clock tomorrow morning down in McKean and Potter counties. There's the latest look at the wind gusts. Still pretty blustery here in Buffalo. Regular gusts near 30 miles an hour, upwards of 40 miles per hour across those advisory areas. And there is room for gusts getting upwards of 45, maybe even near 50 miles an hour this evening. That is bringing in the colder air as temperatures are in the 20s and falling tonight back into the teens. Wind chills are going to head into the single digits, so bundle up. This may also cause a freeze up. Any wet roads out there, some black ice will be possible. Winds do back off overnight. I'll let you know what to expect the rest of the week coming up in just a few minutes.
All right, Andrew, thank you. And remember, you can check the forecast whenever you're on the go. Our Forewarned Weather app has live Doppler radar and weather updates anytime, anywhere. It is free for any mobile device. Well, coming up next on News 4 at 4, get ready to ride. Registration for this year's Ride for Roswell is now open. We'll tell you how you can take part in this year's event.
I keep like naked, and my mom keeps saying I'm going to, but I feel like I'm not.
Plus, taking a stand, we will introduce you to the young girl using a popular pastime to raise money for her brain surgery.